Hello Internet, this is BoneCarlos coming to you live from Cloud Kingdom to bring you the StarCraft 2 commentary. Today we're going to be taking a look at MWARexious. So New World Association, kind of militant, kind of crazy, but then again he is Zerg, so what do you expect? Heyo! Yeah, I said that. And his opponent is going to be Apathy, spawning, I would say, in about the 7 o'clock position as the Blue Terran. Now, a fun fact from Apathy, he built himself a harness so he could hang from the ceiling. He feels that when he plays, all the blood should be rushing to his limbs and his fingertips, so he angled himself from the ceiling to be able to maximize on micro and macro, obviously. So, little fun fact for that player as of today. So like I was saying, this is going to be a TVZ. Normally it's probably going to boil down to Ling, Baneling, transition straight into Mutalisk, while Terran is probably going to do the fancy pants, a little bit of a bio ball, Marines mostly, into Siege Tank, and then possibly Thors. And already Apathy is doing a little bit of a dance around, just making sure he wants to place the bunker in completely the opposite direction of where he was originally. So not sure why he's placing it here. I mean, he could have obviously just walled off here and here. This screams like he wants to put a tech structure on it immediately. A little bit of an add-on. So he is putting down a refinery already on the Vespin Geysers. So this is just seems to me like it's going to be a little bit, probably a reactored, quick reactored Marine push, or quite possibly a Reaper harass. So either one, that's just what I saw. I mean, I'm just guessing here. I totally didn't watch this replay before or cast this replay before and had the sounds completely jacked up so you could barely hear me. Yeah. And over here in MWARexious, basically just doing the standard no spawning pool just yet opening with the extractor first. This is just going to go ahead and as soon as he puts down this extractor, he's just going to have enough gas to get the metabolic boost upgrade for his Zerglings immediately following the popping of the spawning pool. And already we see a tech lab on this barracks, so more than likely going to see a reactor or actually Reaper play, Reaper harass. Right now Apathy is just scattering around making sure exactly what's going on. I mean, the spawning pool, it looks like the spawning pool will be done by the time these Reapers do get here. I mean, even though they can jump up and down cliffs, that's still just a long way to go. To finally catch any kind of drones or mining or moving around or anything of that nature. So I mean, you usually want to attack with 2, possibly 3 Reapers to be able to one-shot the workers, but I feel like there's going to be enough defenses for Rexious to be able to defend this right away. I mean, he still hasn't spotted this or scouted it at all, actually. He didn't send out a drone. He just relied solely on this Overlord, but they are just so slow without that speed boost. He might catch, and he does manage to catch that Reaper going across the field of vision. So let's see if Rexious does decide to do the obvious thing of pulling up some defenses, but not yet. Still droning up. He does have 2 Zerglings on the way. He's putting down a single spine crawler here at the main entrance, but already a bunker being put down by Apathy. This is probably just a little bit of diversionary tactic, just to delay mining that much more. The Reaper finally does get onto the field, takes out 1 drone, and it's just going to go ahead and take on another Zergling, and it looks like he might be able to take on the second drone, but no, decides to focus fire on that Zergling. The Queen finally does pop and chases away that Reaper, takes down a drone or an SCV and cancels that bunker. A second Reaper is going to go ahead and join up with his buddy, so more than likely going to see a little bit of a jump action up here, up in this cliff. Attack the mineral line up here as soon as they get together and do their cheeky shenanigans. Finally, the spine crawler is going to go ahead and push forward, and this spine crawler here is going to effectively block off any kind of attack here. I mean, it's going to be able to take a couple of 2 or 3 pot shots, which is enough to bring down a Reaper, but it looks like Rexious is not falling into the tricks. Apathy is trying to do his best to micro and cause any kind of significant damage, catch the Queens off guard, but it looks like they're not going to be able to do it. The Queens are going to be there for defense, trying to micro away, and it looks like one does manage to go down. It can't jump down into that pit. Finally jumps down onto the cliff, and it looks like Rexious was able to survive with minimal losses. I mean, he did suffer a couple of drones kills, and some life was taken away on this Queen, but nothing too crazy. This Reaper is finally forced to head on and go home. But back in Apathy's base, he's putting down 3 barracks on top of the 3 he already has up and running. So wow, and still no refineries on this Vespin Geysers, and nothing yet on his natural, and putting down a reactor here on both of these barracks. More than likely going to keep a tech lab here on this barracks just to get these upgrades of the stim pack and the combat shielding, while these barracks are probably going to put down 3 more reactors, seeing as how there's no other gas being mined by Apathy. Looks like he's going to go for a straight pure Marine push. He's putting down a bunker at his natural choke point just in case there's any kind of crazy attack that he doesn't see coming. But right now, there isn't anything much in base Rexious. I mean, he's putting down a Baneless. He does have 2 Evo Chambers already up for that double pumpage of the upgrades, but as of right now, he's still not making use of them all. He finally does put down. He puts down +1/+1 melee and armor for the ground units, while these Zerglings are just going to go ahead and be happily hanging around with their wings, just making sure he's going to try to block off this natural expansion. As of yet, Apathy is still not really using it to its full potential. I mean, he's still turning out those SCVs for the mineral on review. I mean, he has great saturation here on top of these mules. I mean, the income tab is probably going off the charts here. I mean, it's 1,200 minerals, which is huge off of just one base. He finally does float over his orbital command to the natural, but I think that Zergling is still just hanging out. The Marine, oh, they're just buddies here. There's no big deal. There's nothing to worry about. This Zergling is just blocking an orbital command from landing. There's a whole squad of Marines. They decided not to do anything yet. Finally, they spot the Zergling, take it down very quickly, while back at home in Rex's base, he's taking down his own destructible rocks and is putting up his third base of his own. It's still not much of a drone saturation by him. I mean, he has a pretty decent saturation on his main, but on his natural, it's still about half full, so he's just pumping out. Right now, he's just churning out as many overlords and drones as possible, but if he's not careful, if he over drones right now, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to hold off all these Marines. I mean, right now, there's currently 21 of them. Rexious did spot them all with this overlord, but if you did notice it on his minimap, that remains to be seen. Still nothing too crazy being built, no other Zerglings being built. Banelings, the Baneling nest is done. 10 more Zerglings are on the way, but no Banelings are being morphed quite yet. It looks like Rexious did spot those Marines, but it looks like he's gonna leave his third base completely undefended. Stim is done, so they're gonna be able to, the Marines are gonna be able to make short work of this hatchery. That micro is trying to stutter step forward because you know those hatcheries can be slippery, especially if the Zerg decides to micro that. And it looks like there is plenty of Banelings here, but that split is very good by Apathy. A great split, minimizing damage that those Banelings do, but there's just too much on the field. 2 Marines are left over, and these Zerglings are going to clean that up. But again, at the front of Rex's base, there's another squad of Marines ready to take advantage of the lull-in defenses. And right now, there is not much to defend. There are 14 Zerglings being caught, but they're a long way from showing up. This queen is going to be taken down very quickly if it's not careful. He finally decides to focus down on this spine crawl, and again, a stutter step away from the Zerglings to minimize damage, and a quick little split. Wow, looks like that harness really is working, since the split was just automatic without even being any kind of Banelings on the field. So good job, Apathy, for using that harness to keep that blood in your hands. Looks like the Marines are going to focus fire on these destructible rocks to give himself a nice little arc in case it comes down to it. But right now, Rexious is really forcing to use all of these larvae onto drones. He's trying to position his spine crawler in an optimum position, but really, I would actually have left it right where it was. Looks like it is Umbro. The scan does go down. The stim is pushed forward, and the spine crawler is taken out very quickly. A nice arch on all these Zerglings. There's no possibility of a surround, and those Zerglings were torn up for the shreds very, very quickly. He's trying to focus fire on this evolution chamber, but why not take that point? He's going to stim one more time, and he's dangerous. His elf is dangerous in the low. There are no more Marines in green. There are all red and yellow. More Banelings are being morphed in by Rexious, but he's forced to push forward with a small force of Zerglings just to buy himself some time. Finally, the Banelings do pop, but there's just one Baneling takes care of the rest of the Marines. They were just a couple of stims after that. They just didn't have enough life to be able to survive any kind of blast. +1/+1 attack and defense for these Marines are going down. Does a nice little split, but a good squad was taken down by those couple of Banelings. It looks like Apathy's going to push forward, he is sensing an advantage at the moment, since there isn't really anything else on the field for Rexious. And right now, he is completely defenseless. He is forced to pull these drones off, but he actually puts them all on the extractor. The free does go down, and there's going to be a lot of free kills on those drones. Finally, the Zerglings do pop and make a nice little surround on the Marines, but they hide themselves in the mineral patch, which is exactly where you want to be. And he maximizes his damage that he's able to do on those Zerglings, and in that entire attack, Rexious decides to take a fourth. His third is just popped, but this is just getting a little bit too greedy. Yes, he does have 4 bases, but he has no drones as of yet. I mean, he has 35 harvesters up to compared to the 43 of Apathy. That quick marine push was very, very successful in my opinion. They forced Rexious to use a lot of that larva for those Zerglings, and then and at the same time killing a bunch of drones. And Apathy is still not stopping with the aggression. He sees that hatchery wide open and he decides to take it out yet again. It's going to be a second hatchery going to be taken in. The Zerglings there are there. They try to get a nice round, but again, Apathy is continuing with that nice micro and finally blocks off for those Zerglings. Gets up into a nice corner and does as much damage as possible. Stings one more time, really needlessly, since the sting still hadn't worn off, but he still managed to do quite a bit of damage and forcing yet more Zerglings to be produced by Rexious. I mean, he's finally just now pulling down 6 drones, but really, with these 2 bases that Apathy has, it is outmining the 4 that Rexious has right now. Another, finally, medevacs are on the way and on the field for support for Apathy could be a little bit more liberal with those stims if he so chooses, and another squad of Marines are being turned out. So right now there was a factory built, but really that was just for the starports and those medevacs, and again, deep in the territory of Rexious, but those infestors are on the field to play. Nice fungal growth, take down the entire squad of Marines, managed to finish off with those fungal growth put down for that medevac. Couple of infestarians are going to pop and destroy this free medevac here. And right now, this is the tide turner right here for Rexious. If he can put down incredible fungal growths, keep these infestors alive, this could be all he needs up against these Marines, because those fungal growths are huge against the Marines, even if they do have plenty of medevac backup, which of course right now they don't. They only have 3 medevacs, but even if he had 5 or 6 medevacs of fungal growth, will be able to lock those Marines into place and surround by those Zerglings and Banelings, will have been able to finish them off. Apathy still looks like he's not gearing up to take any sort of expansion. Finally, his main is mined down. He only has 1 mineral patch, but that's going to be gone in a few more trips. So it looks like he's just committing all into this pure Marine attack. He's putting down a couple of factories, more factories. So with the low gas that he has been mining, I'm likely to see a couple of Hellions being turned out just to take care of these Zerglings. But right now, I don't think Hellions are the answer. There is going to be a nice little drop. This might be the answer though. The entire army of Rexious is at the main, so this drop is going to do a huge amount of damage. It takes down this spawning pool, takes down this Baneling Lance and this infestation pit. It'll probably GG, but at the same time, Apathy continues on with his incredible micro and splits, tries to minimize damage from those fungal growth, but there's just too many infestors on the field to play. Those Zerglings finally catch up with the fungal Marines and try to do as much amount of damage as possible. Rexious is split. He's trying to save his main and trying to finish off with this force right here, knocking at his 3rd expansion. It looks like he decides to take his squad home. And right now it looks like Apathy is trying to focus down this layer, but really I would focus down on his Baneliness and his infestation pit. Finally does hear me through the marble of time travel technology, takes down that Baneliness, and but the infestors are on the field to play a nice fungal growth. Does go down, trap the entire squad, 1 more, and finish him off completely. But in the meantime, Apathy pushes forward and takes down the 3rd of Rexious yet again. So right now, it looks like Apathy is still winning the battle with these pure Marine force. I mean, he finally takes his third with putting down a command center, but really he could have just lived this off and dropped this here, saved himself 400 minerals to turn out 4 more Marines for the battle. And right now there's a bunch of infestors on the field of play for Rexious, but without any kind of Zergling backup, I'd be hard pressed to stop all the attacks that Apathy's been able to do. And I mean, he could do drops in the main like he just did. Take out this. I guess it's technically Rexious' 3rd. He's putting down a Roach one. And that's a very interesting choice. I'm not sure how well that's going to do. I mean, but his spawning pool is done, and he doesn't have a Baneling Nest, so Roach Warren is pretty much his last resort. He's now starting to research level 1 missile attack for those roaches, but right now it's in desperation mode for Rexious. Blue Flame Hellions are on the way, and they're going to be coming out within a minute or so, which are going to help greatly up against the non-existent Zerglings that are going to be produced. And it looks like Apathy spots this hatchery right here, and if he takes it down, this will probably be GG from Rexious. He does take it down. The 4th is done, and again, a nice little split by Rexious or by Apathy to be able to deal with any kind of fungal growth. Fungal growth do go down, but these most of the squad is busy on this larva. He's going to take down this sniper. Finally, most of the Marines get smart. and start heading home. And it's going to be Infested Terrans versus regular Terrans right now. The Infestors finally unburrowed, do a nice little fungal defense, a small squad of Marines, but Apathy decides to go home after doing the damage, while Rexious is going to retake his third for the third time. So very good harassment by Apathy, just going to show you the power of these Marines. Even though the Infestors are the perfect choice to counter these Marines, this is just too many Marines to be able to handle. 2-2 is already done, so it makes these Marines that much stronger, while on the field for Rexious, he just has a few roaches and a bunch of Infestors with +2 armor. Looks like the Hellions do spot this hatchery, and again, it looks like Apathy is going to push forward, but the roaches pop at the exact moment that you want them to pop, trying to do a little bit of a bubble gun, but the hatchery is forced to cancel. He does lose only 75 minutes, and a nice fungal growth on all of these Marines, and a ton go down, and more fungal growth are being put down, and no other Terrans quite yet. These roaches are doing a ton of damage, and fungal growth on most of the competing Marines, and the rest of the Marines are forced to go home. Another fungal growth on the medevacs, and the last remaining medevacs are really 3 Marines on the field, and another fungal growth slots in place, and they are cleaned up. A single medevac with 14 health are just hanging around, checking out the battle below, and finally the fence catches up, takes out that medevac. And right now, it looks like the main isn't even being mined by Rexious. The only remaining mining base for him is actually his natural, while back in Apathy's base, he has huge saturation on the natural. It looks like he's going to move his orbital command over to take. It looks like he's going to take this third right over here, which is a nice choice, since his avenue attack has been here throughout this entire time, and putting down a command center here to be able to be defended by his avenue attack is a great choice. And it looks like after he's going to go ahead and push forward, but all these Marines are coming forward. They're going to do a ton of damage by these roaches, and again the fungal does lock them in place. So this is the first huge mistake that I see Apathy do, not being able by attacking firstly attacking on this narrow choke to be able to negate any sort of split that he could do with these Marines, and it just made them easy pickings for these Infestors. But again, the power of those reactor bunkers, he has plenty of Marines to be backing up, and a couple of Thors are actually being produced. Thors versus Roaches are very, very good, and they're also very, very good up against Infestors, and well, since Infestors are a bit squishy, so he is keeping his minerals quite low, but really that's just because he doesn't have much else. So look at that. A changeling right here, just checking out all these SCVs. Looks like he's on guard duty, but not really. He's just a little bit of a spy. His Apathy's third is finally running, but really just has mules down on the mineral patches quite yet. And looks like there's going to be a nice little attack by Rexious. But Apathy is really in a nice spot. He does have a siege tank, no siege mode quite yet. The attack is coming down from Rexious. He's finally going to push forward, and he's going to take down a lot of SCVs, especially if the fungal growths do manage to go down. A scan that does go down by Apathy, but the fungal growths are put down in exactly the right spot, and a nice fungal growth on a bunch more SCVs. But look at that, a perfect pincher move by Apathy. He manages to trap the entire army of Rexious in the middle. A ton of damage is being done on these infected fungal growths are being pushed down on them, just slowing down quite a bit. This still only has 3 kills, and it looks like he's going to get a couple more before he finally does go down. A couple more volleys from the Aztec does bring down that door, and everything is forced to burrow. But again, Terran does have that scan, and it looks like Rex is just going to split up his Infestors and just going to keep them around the base of Apathy for further harassment opportunities. But that was a lot of SCVs that were lost. I mean, right now Apathy has 14 SCVs. Those fungal growths from those Infestors really paid off. I mean, each one has at least, well, this one only has 1, but every other one had at least 5 kills to its name, and most of those were SCVs. But again, he does have mules to be able to fall back on just a bit, and the infested Marines are going to go ahead and take out this orbital command quite easily, while a huge battle is going down over here, and Rex is at third. Yet again, a nice split by his Marines, but yet again, infected ones are going down by those infestors. This war is doing a bunch of damage to these infestors, but again, this is just enough to be able to hold on. Apathy is lacking a bit, so he just has negated most of his attacks quite easily. The infestors are ridiculous, you know, insane. But then again, you're good at making Marines. Why not continue that infestation play? But then again, I remember in the first couple of seasons, their players really didn't use infestors en masse. They mainly use them for drops and such. And then I just remember a certain capture that likes to do fun kind of things on his Monday shows, challenge all his Zerg players to just use pure investors and watch what happened. And then that's when really the eye opener was for Zerg players to be able to use mass infestors to really lock down armor and cause a amount of damage with that fungal growth. Do a lot of opportunities with that was infested carries after that. That's a statement in Zerg play throughout pretty much every single replay that I've done, and it looks like this hatchery was taken down again for the 4th time. And wow, looking at the income tab, we see plenty of harvesters for Rexious, but not enough bases to be able to mine. Right now he has 2 mineral patches, and that is it. And as you can see from the income, we can see exactly why that's happening and how it's affecting them. These roaches are going to push forward at exactly the wrong time and pull back quite quickly. You can see move quite speedy on the creepy. It looks like they do have the speed upgrade. Again, he's going to push forward. These Marines are easy pickings for a fungal growth. Fungal does go down, but doesn't catch quite all of them just yet. And with that Thor backup, everything is forced to pull back. And that's push forward. Not exactly having enough to do anything. The Queen is doing great. Trying to keep it being roached alive. Finally, he pushes forward and so forced to pick up on that Thor. And again, Apathy is forced to pull back and laughs and GG's, because at the same time there was an infestors in the main base doing a lot of damage. Rexious is on the Marine, LOL. But you know, I'm still not quite sure that much damage is being done to GGing, but it's still not leaving the game. Yes, there are. This is doing a bunch of damage to your structures, but Rexious doesn't have anything. Again, another little push forward by a small amount of Marines. Finally does take down all those roaches. Push forward, take down a Queen. Doesn't even push forward, gonna take down as many troops as possible. Rexious is forced to burrow them, but a scan reveals all of them exactly where they're at. And it looks like there was a premature GG Apathy when he really had the upper hand. He just didn't realize how much damage he had been doing to Rexious as of yet. There are still a few infestors over here in his main base, but there are Marines there to be able to defend. It looks like Apathy is going to take down a second hatchery, the natural hatchery of Rexious. The coaches do have full health now, and so push forward yet again. A Queen to push forward and suicide themselves on those bullets of the Marines, but again, there's just too many Marines to be able to, for these bullets to be able to handle. And it looks like the massive force of Rexious is done, and that is it. There's 5 infestors being on the field of play for Rexious, so it comes down to these 5 infestors. If he's able to take out this attack from Apathy, he might be able to save himself, but not really. I mean, he does have a pretty room here that he could mine some minerals, but it looks like it's all over for Rexious. A couple of infestors tend to go down and scan, reveals them all. This sword takes down takes down 3 roach infestors. The 4th is taken down. It's going to be Marine versus infested Marine, and the single Marine does survive, but the attack is cleaned up. There's a single roach, a single infestor for Rexious, but there's a nice squad of Hellions and Marines. It looks like this is over for Rexious. Apathy, it looks like, has taken this game. The Hellions do spot this roach. Looks like a pullback. He's going to go ahead and attack, take out that roach, and a single infestor is left for Rexious. He does have 5 larvae, quite a few bit of drones, but that is it. Rexious leaves the game. Great game by both players. It shows the power of the Marines, shows the power of the infestors, and that was game. I hope you guys enjoyed. If not, leave a comment down below on what I could do to make these more enjoyable for you. I'm just not used to seeing Terran lose 405 units, more so than the Zerg, so very nice play. That's it for me. If you guys have a game that you would like for me to cast of one of your own, leave a link to one of the major replay sites, and I'll be happy to take care of it for you guys. Other than that, I'm going to get on out of here.